There. Okay.
Yep.
So it says preparing on my end, but you're saying it's live. But
Live.
we'll,
Maybe you're preparing, but the live button's gone on.
done. Okay, I gotta quiet it down. Hello, I know you're watching, but I got clicks to do. Boom. All right, there we go. Okay. I'm Phil,
And I'm Phil.
and this is another fantastic, exciting, adventurous episode of the Phil and Phil Show.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming and watching. Thanks for sharing your time with us. Oh, Phil, tell us about what you're doing there.
So I'm doing some saging. Sage is traditional for a lot of people get sage from Southern California. I think that's kind of where it came from. But the sage is just a beautiful plant that just you just burn it and it helps clear the energy. And anyone who does it knows.
Yeah, it's so peaceful, isn't it?
It's such a powerful herb. Just and it's been used, I mean, traditional in the Native American tradition. All right. So just randomly, I decided to topic energy clearing. Because Phil's doing some energy clearing work. So, where are you, Phil?
Well, I'm down in London, Phil, with my other friend Phil.
The Phil.
So Phil is his name's Philip Weeks. He runs a top end clinic in London. He's an acupuncturist, a master herbalist. He's Chinese. He studied Chinese medicine. He's a Chinese medicine herbalist. He studied so many modalities, and he's starting to master his trade. And so he moved to London. When did we do the clinic? We did the clinic in 2016. We came and pulled all the ceilings down and gave it a really quick refurb in 10 days. And now, because of lockdown and other stuff that's going on, he needs to make a shop area in what's his reception room at the front. We've now got to turn it into so it looks like a shop,
Mm-hmm.
so people can come in and buy products. So part of the energy clearing work we're going to do here is I'm just looking for a smoke alarm. We might do a bit of sage. It depends. It depends. Phil will know all about smoke alarms in here. Do a bit of sage and burn some other incenses to clear the energies. I didn't bring with me my coloured mirrors, so I use that quite a lot. But I will douse and see what sticky energies there are in the property, and then we'll probably have to go outside and see if we can get an acupuncture wand in a crack in the pavement, or if there's I think there's some trees out the front. I don't know if they've got some of the trees actually in London have hardness all around the top, so you can't actually get anything in.
What does that mean? Sorry.
But it's like they've
Oh,
got tarmac right up to the trees.
oh.
There's no soil around the tree.
Wow.
So whether or not I can actually get a wand in the ground there or not, I
So
doubt. I
what's
think
that? Well, a wand. I don't know.
the
What do you
wand
mean?
is when we do an earth energy works, we use acupuncture needles, which the other name is wand, which
Mm-hmm.
and they're made out of wood. I like to use holly, as in Hollywood, the
Mm-hmm.
magic wand of Hollywood.
Right.
Um, so yeah, Hollywood is used for casting spells, right? It's for magic, high magic in old Celtic culture, and it was used for doing magic and creating illusion. And so I like Hollywood. I also like yew and oak. So depending on what energy needs shifting and changing, I just see which one kind of jumps out at me. So just feel into what one resonates with that particular energy that I need to shift. So there's always a bit of work. I say always, depending on what building job I'm doing and what client I'm working for. you know, some know that I do it and they're like, Phil, will you do a bit of clearing work for me? Others, I just, you know, I don't even bother to broach the subject. So I've got tiling to do, shelves to make. I think it just depends how much time we end up with in reality, because Phil's got some clients on Thursday. So that gives me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
3 days. Um, and here, where we are in Westminster, we've got there's noise police, dust police, pollution police. Literally, if we break the sound curfews, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, that's the only time we can work. We're allowed to work in those hours, making any noise. And if we break through and we work later, then the noise police apparently, or the dust police, they have dust police here. They're on site. They're on site in 45 minutes.
So is somebody reporting that, or are they
Well,
watch?
if someone reports it,
Mm-hmm.
either noise or you know, dust, nuisance, whatever. If someone reports it, then the police are out in a shot, because it's quite
Wow.
an exclusive area. So we have to be very conscious of any noise we're making, any dust we're making. I mean, when we refurbed the clinic, we seemed to get away. We got told off a couple of times, and you know, they said, "Do you know that you've got time restraints?" And we're like, "No." Do you know you can only work? And we're like, "No, but thanks for telling us. We'll do that." Um, you know, and we had a skip on the road, and we had no idea that actually we weren't allowed to make a dust noise. But you soon find out, because some lovely um, person comes and says, "Excuse me," and they tell us the rules, and it's like, "Oh, cool, we didn't know. Thank you very much." In some ways, it saves a lot of research, you know, because some
Right.
lovely person's very keen to come and tell you what you can and can't do, which is fab, because then you know the rules and you just do your best to work with them.
And that's good. That's like conscious, communication. Other than they just run and tell someone, they come and communicate with you. So that's a
Yeah.
conscious person.
Yep, they come and knock on the door and tell us what the rules are. So now, you know, now we've got a fairly good idea what the rules are. So, and we knew what we did last time. So as long as we work within those restraints, it's
So
fine.
are these just regular restraints, or is there also like restraints like COVID restraints as well?
No, because it's Phil's clinic and it's only me and Phil in here.
Okay. And you are genuinely working for a live clinic, so that's permitted.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So, you know, if any public come in, then of course everything changes.
right.
So
So
that's
so just going back to the one there. So would you call that earth acupuncture? Is that what you're
yeah,
doing?
yeah.
So
It's earth. Yeah. We'll probably do a bit of earth acupuncture. I normally do earth acupuncture in kind of the waking hours, um, in the daytime, so to speak. But while we're here in London, I tend to do it at night when it's very quiet.
so how do you know where to put these things, and how long do you leave them? Is it like, human acupuncture? What do you put where are you putting them? How do you know?
Yeah, it's actually very similar to human acupuncture. So I use dowsing rods. I haven't got them with me, Phil, because I wasn't actually expected to talk about this.
That's all
They're
right.
in the other room. I've got copper dowsing rods. So
Mm-hmm.
um, they're L-shaped rods, probably about
So
that
just hold
long.
them like, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and you hold them like that, and then they ask questions. So on, if we're doing the earth energies, we'll ask, for instance, show me any dirty energy lines, and then that will show me when. So dirty energy lines, that's energy lines that have been polluted. Um, so pollution in London can be roadworks, road signs. Um, oh, what else could it? Yeah, mainly it's going to be roadworks, building works. So when they dig in the ground and put up road signs, you know, they dig down with heavy metal instruments, and then they put, um, yeah, mine aren't
Something
like that, but similar.
something similar, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have the extra. Oh, you can't see me pointing at it. I don't have the extra copper handles on it. Mine are like that, but my handles are just the same as the bit that sticks out the front.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of images like that, so interesting.
Yeah.
So these are things. So you're looking for things that have been put out of balance by construction, by piping, electricity, things that humans have done, or is it also is there earth energies that you're trying to balance out too?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It could be not so much here, but if there'd been an earthquake or something, that can throw things out. But to be fair, most of them that I've come across have been man-made. Man-made. And I guess in London tunneling, I imagine the trains are quite traumatic still for
Wow,
everybody.
that's pretty. Yeah, all the tunnels underground. That's probably throwing energy completely off.
Well, you think of those magic energy streams that were running around the planet for the planet's whole entire existence, and then all of a sudden they've just been chopped off and blocked off by concrete and steel.
Wow.
And then, it may be energetically they can connect back up, but then you've got a train cutting through them every 3 minutes, whatever the trains are on the underground. I hadn't thought of that, Phil, actually. So yeah, you've got all in London. There's going to be lots of disturbance because you've got the trains whistling past all the time, and you've got lots of traffic. So that it's all disharmonious.
So you leave it in for a few minutes and then it kind of
Ah,
reconnects it. Is that the thing?
um, well, what it does is when you stick the needle in the ground, you can actually, and then what I do is I sit with it and meditate with it. Um, and actually, when I first put it in, I mean, it is just like people acupuncture because you can feel the energy connect with the wand, and then you get back and get out of the way, and all of this you can see energetic shimmers like heat coming out the top of the wand. It's just like heat coming out.
Wow.
So yeah, then I go off and see what else I need to do. Sometimes I might put 7 or 8 needles in, sometimes just one. And if I can't do them outside, then sometimes I might use them inside. Like if someone's got a really nice lamp, like Phil's got a really nice lamp here, um, or a statue, like a stone statue or something. Or you can even get a wand and stick it in a floorboard or something. As long as you've got something so it can stand still, and then you can consciously connect the energies with the wand and the energy in the ground that needs healing. And then the negativity, just like human acupuncture, will then come out of the end of the needle. Energetically, it will just be released back up
Right.
into the ether. Um, so these primarily they take kind of 20 minutes, half an hour, and then you can. I look at them and I can see how the haze is going, and then I can also dowse to say is this complete or not complete, and if it is complete, then I go. So okay, let's do. So if it isn't complete, I kind of find out what it needs, and sometimes it needs communication. So I'll sit, depending on where we are, I might sit right with the wand, or as we're in London, I might stand against a building and try and look inconspicuous, and then consciously I'll tune into that wand and into the energy line and communicate with the energies that are going on and find out that last little bit what it actually needs. And sometimes the divas, which is what the energies are called there, divas of place, might just say, they just needed to know what was going on, what had happened, and or the energies tell you a story of what actually went on. And a lot of it's just about it's always the same. It's about gratitude. It's about um, and forgiveness. It's about saying we're really sorry. The people that are doing that clearly didn't know that they were going to create trauma and disharmony and disrupt the energies, and you know say things like so I've come now to release that trauma, and my intention is to create harmony. And 9 times out of 10, depending on how bad the trauma is, how old the trauma is, what's all the rest of it. Often we can lift the level of that disharmony. Sometimes it just goes completely sweet. Um, so yeah, it just depends on what we're dealing with really as to what the end result actually is.
So these cities and building have been just created unconsciously, but if we can build consciously, we can build in harmony with the elements and the forces. And
Well, interesting, Phil. Years ago in England, they used to often use ceremonies. So in England, the first ceremony would be cutting of the turf. So you'd mark the building out, the path out, wherever it was where you were going to disturb the ground, and they do a little ceremony.
I suppose that's like where like the breaking of the earth comes in, where people that ceremony comes in. So it
Yeah,
probably has. I mean, maybe today it's not done that way, but it was originally.
yeah, definitely it was originally. So then you have the cutting of the turf. Then, if I remember rightly, you have laying of the first foundation stone.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you have what they call they always used to have what they called a topping out ceremony, which would be so cutting of the turf's done by someone famous. The laying of the first foundation stones done by someone famous.
Right.
And then the topping out ceremony, which would be kind of the last brick put on the chimney, or a bottle of champagne, same. Um,
Whatever.
uh, something broken on the roof to actually celebrate. So it's like the first one, cutting of the turf, is asking permission.
Mm-hmm.
So it's continually asking for permission and celebration. So it's permission and gratitude. And we had Richard Craigmore on the show talking about these kind of things, didn't we? Back at January, I think it was. Um, so it's about, it comes back to honoring. It's really important to honor whatever it is you're doing, whether you're digging the garden, picking a lettuce leaf, eating your salad, drinking your water, having your green smoothie. I think a lot of it's like when you go back to school and you had to give thanks before food. I think it doesn't really matter the ceremony in which you're giving thanks for, whether it's Christian or Jewish or whatever it is. It's the fact that I think it's just really important because it gives you a chance, as a family, it gives you a chance to stop, connect, be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think something that's even more important than ever now is to slow down
Mm-hmm.
so we can meet the energy of the food rather than just stuffing it in our faces and getting the nutrients. There's real subtle things, don't you think, Phil, that goes on with food?
Well, it's that sacred intent. So that intent with whatever you're doing, and yeah, there's so much subtlety. It's not, oh, I'm eating this to get my carbohydrates or this. It's like you're taking in the colors and the frequencies and the vibrations, and our visual sight. We can only see like, was it like 0.005? I don't know the exact number, but it's a really tiny amount of the electromagnetic spectrum. But there's all these other frequencies, like there's infrared and there's all these frequencies. There's the biophoton emissions, and all of that is like contained within that element, that food. And so we're taking in all of those frequencies. If we're unconscious, we just stuff it down. It's like, oh, it's just more carbohydrate or fat or protein. Like we're kind of going to miss out on that. And I think if you come more consciously into eating, you're going to take on those vibrations and those frequencies. So yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah, Tim, and this doesn't mean that you've got to put a blindfold on to eat your dinner after you've made it. you can just you can just sit quietly with it. I was just making that little joke to Tim because I forget what show we were doing, but we were doing a show, and Tim was putting on a blindfold trying to make his dinner or something. I remember him telling me. So
Well, I mean, it sounds like a good idea at times because we're so focused on the visual spectrum. It might be a good idea to eat with a blindfold, you know. But yeah, I mean, we we do take in other energies through our eyes too. So
yeah. So it's fascinating, Phil. When we start to do the show and we start talking about stuff, I've noticed on the show that I yawn so much, and
it's
I think it's
interesting,
actually because we process a lot of energy,
right?
and
So it just yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then just thinking about like what you're saying about the conscious intent of the buildings, it fascinates me because you go to a sacred cathedral or an ancient site and everybody can feel that energy. Like that's why people go. That's why they are tourist attractions, and people go there and feel that energy. Whereas, you know, you're walking through the streets of a city and it feels off most of the time. Like these modern buildings that are all perfectly engineered and designed, but they lack that energy. And people did have the conscious intent when they built the cathedrals. They're on the energetic lines. They're built with sacred stones. Like placed so carefully and the materials that are used and you walk into those places and you can feel it. I mean, you could say, well, it's God, but yeah, it's God, and it's well, God is everything, so it's you're feeling that energetic, that's what you're feeling. It's like it's just
yeah, absolutely, Phil. It's that's a great question, isn't it? It's God, but what is God? A stone's God, right? It's like
yeah, it's
there's
everything.
exactly. So, but there's more to it. There's more to it than that because it's the geometry. Once you start to look at the building of churches, cathedrals, the geometry is just phenomenal. The sacred geometry that they're built with, the care that's taken on building those buildings is phenomenal. So there's just so much to it, and I'm sure a lot of that was done with reverence. And I think in our Western culture, we've really lost reverence for things, stuff, places, buildings, people, plants, animals. There's no reverence anymore. It's all taken for granted. And the gratitude, do you know what I mean, Phil? The gratitude's not there, and reverence. I don't know quite how to describe reverence. Do you describe reverence, Phil?
Well, we've come from this like in the past you had to more work harder for things, and now everything's instant. You know, you go online and like you have it the next day, and there's no connection to where it came from or the energy that went into that. So we kind of discard like what went into producing that. You know, the microphone or the computer or the phone or like we've lost that. Whereas if we have to have to harvest the hemp to create the clothes, like we start to get more of an appreciation. Maybe it's an appreciation. Maybe that's the description of reverence. It's
Yeah,
a
I
deep
think.
appreciation of where that came from and the true abundance of it. So we've got this false abundance of like you go online and you order and you have it the next day, where the true abundance of this infinite giving creative energy. Maybe that's I don't know. I'm just what I'm saying. This is coming out. So.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to look up that word reverence, Phil. He says if I can get my MacBook to work.
Um, I'm all out of focus. I gotta get a different camera. This one keeps going out of
Yeah,
focus.
that one, it does go out of focus a lot,
I
Phil.
think it died. Tim said the last one with Sarmado. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Reverence meaning. See if I'm using the right word. It might be useful. Yeah. Honor or respect felt or shown. Difference, especially profound adoring. So, yeah. So basically, it is to honor or respect felt or shown. Yeah. And I think that's exactly what we were just been talking about.
Yeah, and I think wow, underlying if that became the focus, wow, I'm just like on a shit, the focus of our lives, like what a different world it would be. Just that one shift, that intent, that reverence role of life, what a shift it would be.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you something. You've just talked about that now, Phil. The reverence for all of life. Now, here's a bit of an irony, right? When I was growing up and we were gamekeepering, my dad was a gamekeeper and my granddad was a gamekeeper, and um, the really weird thing about gamekeepers and people, people that are connected to the land, the reverence that they have for the animals, it's really it doesn't go. The vegan movement wouldn't get it, but the love and respect, the respect of the animals.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're a keeper and your job is to kill lots of animals, you don't do it because you don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
This is the irony of it all. It could be that you were looking after a deer park and a deer became lame.
Mm-hmm.
Then that deer gets cold. It doesn't mean it's done with anger or hatred. You know, and and actually a lot of the time you don't necessarily like. I didn't necessarily like doing it all the time. It's just like, oh, that one's sick, that one's old, that one's lame, whatever it is, and it has to be done. But I remember my granddad. He never did anything in anger, and actually, he very rarely did a great deal of that. But everything he did.
Mm-hmm.
It was done with reverence and respect for the animals and the land. It's I think unless you've grown up with it and you've seen it,
Right.
having now, I don't consume any animal products. Um, it feels weird because it's on another level it doesn't make sense. But I've experienced it. I've experienced being completely in awe of the animals, and the how clever the human has to be to outwit the animal. So, for instance, keeping the pheasants safe,
Mm-hmm.
the work you've got to go to keep those animals safe from other animals. And of course, the first thing isn't to kill something. The first thing is to stop it getting in the pen. First thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then by doing that, you've got to understand its movements and its actions, and you've got to try and get into the mindset of how it's thinking and where it's going to go to understand it. And then you can have reverence for it.
My camera is terrible.
When we had Will Lord on, Phil, the other day,
Mm-hmm.
he's one of the most respectful people that I know.
That's worse, isn't it?
Yeah. Now it's just blurry. I don't think it helps your camera because you've got a real bright light behind you, Phil.
That's outside. Yeah. I just turned the camera off, so I went to the built-in camera. It's terrible.
That's better than it. What are you on now?
Just on the built-in camera. I just
Oh,
got. I'm just gonna get rid of this webcam and get another one. Sadly,
yeah, it's a challenge, isn't it?
the disposable tech, like reverence for.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so going back to the tech, when you were saying about microphones or cameras or whatever, and not understanding where they've come from or what it takes to make it. The thing that always amazes me is being a tradesman and a creator, right, making things,
Mm-hmm.
is looking at something and go, how did they make that
Yeah.
for that amount of money?
Mm-hmm.
And really looking at the level, like this mic I've got here, the level of work that's in this microphone.
Right.
They're just, so I guess I look at well-made, put together products with reverence.
Right.
And cheap crap, I just can't. I just can't be doing with it, because that's just such a waste of everything: planetary resources, human resources, financial resources. It's just a waste.
Yeah.
It's a complete waste. And as you were saying now, and going back, we've drifted a culture of throwaway.
Yeah, we got this. Yeah, disposable society.
And that everyone goes on these marches and signs these petitions. Everybody, people do. But what we actually have to do is do it in our daily lives. Respect ourselves and the earth and the planet on a daily basis, not once or twice a month, but really think about where we're consuming, what we're consuming. Is it going to
Right.
last? Is it not going to last? It's like some of my mates sometimes say, "Oh, I only bought that tool to do the one job." Like, wow. So therefore, that just becomes a disposable tool.
Pretty much.
I just added that tool into the price of the job, and then
Yeah.
I'll skip it because it's cheap. It's not nice. Like, wow.
Well, I've seen that where I don't know where was it. It was somewhere. It was something in Patagonia was going on. They were doing something, and I was at the dump one day, and there was some construction guy dumping all this good material because he was like, well, I bought it for the job and I don't need it anymore. So it was all this brand new material, just like throw it in the dump. I don't know what you call them over there, but I've forgotten now. Yeah, so they build that into the job, but it's crazy, like the waste of resources. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. The customer paid for it, so
I've seen that, like in England, when they build housing estates, they've been known to dig holes and bury, because it's
everything, right? Everything, just bury it.
what do they allow for? I think they allow for 10% wastage. So if you're building 1,000 houses, 10% is 100, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's 100 spare bathrooms.
Wow.
100, so it's yes, it's 10% of the job. So yeah. I mean, it's just,
Wow.
and then that all just gets thrown away. 10%, because, well, all of it. They allowed 10%, and whatever of the 10% they don't use then gets thrown away.
That's pretty incredible.
That's insane. And there's some literal poor person down the road that can't afford a new kitchen.
Right.
Well, these guys are burying them.
Yeah, wow, they're just burying all these materials, like in the same housing estate, right? Too, right? They dig a deep hole and
Dig a deep hole and bury it.
wow, they don't even, yeah, because they don't want to pay the fees to dump it or whatever. So
Well, there's that, and there's also whether it's been allowed for.
wow, because it's easy. It's easier. It's like, oh, I don't need to think about it. This, yeah,
It's so much quicker and it's so much easier, and it's convenient. We're back down to that old chestnut again: convenience.
yeah,
And it's the same with people with food. And I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Sometimes I might not notice and the lemon goes off, or I had a watermelon yesterday and I ate half of it. But I eat roughly half a day. And I looked at it this morning. Look, when I made it yesterday, it didn't look, it tasted fine, but it didn't look quite right. So then this morning I thought, I'm going to throw that away. Well, I don't throw anything away. It all goes on the compost, right?
right.
So,
I mean, at least that's the great thing about like food, organic food, is at least it goes back into the compost, so that always feels good. So
and that's what my dad always says to me. Don't worry about it, boy. He says, throw it on the compost. It will feed the plants.
yeah,
And he's right, of course. It goes on the compost and feeds the plants. Marvelous. So you can't do that with a plastic kitchen.
right.
or a plastic bathroom or MDF, any.
Well, I just think of the so we started this show on energetics. Just think of the energetics of that housing estate, like how messed up the earth is. Like you can have no proper grounding, and the energy is going to be totally thrown off because of all of that material is in there it's synthetic and plastic and all sorts of stuff just thrown into the ground. You've totally really disharmonized with the earth.
No reverence.
Yeah.
And I know not everyone's, people that are doing it don't want to be doing it either. I understand that.
Right. Yeah. We're in that system. We're in a system where it allows that, and people are used to fast, easy, cheap, free shipping. Somebody was asking me about free shipping the other day.
Yeah.
And
I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if someone set up a warehouse where, but then of course you'd have to, for that idea, you'd have to have warehouses everywhere where all surplus materials go to.
right. Mm-hmm.
And then it's sold off, given away, whatever. I mean, obviously you've got to cover your costs, so maybe it's sold off.
I really think we could have a better mindset of more, in America it's called thrift, in England it's charity, whereas there's more of these places where things can be reused and organized and sorted, and like with just this constant thing of like, okay, it's broken, just buy a new one, because it only cost me $20 for this, microphone or whatever, and it's broken, so I'll just get a new one. Or my iPhone's broken, so I'll just get a new one. So, or it's covered on an insurance plan, so I'll just throw this away and they'll just replace it.
Imagine, I think some companies, I think the Co-op in England makes a modular phone.
Okay.
And so it all just slots and clips in for all the parts, and
Right.
it's all interchangeable and repairable. Why doesn't iPhone do that? Why doesn't iPhone make a phone that's really easily repairable and modular, instead of everything being integral and so difficult to repair?
Right. Well, I think even the MacBooks, the laptops, they used to be, you could upgrade them, and now they've made it so it's all like built in and like glued together. So you can't even upgrade them anymore. It's like, well, once it's done, it's done. You can't like replace, like, can you be like the memory kind of gets tired or whatever, and you could replace it, but now you can't even replace it because it's all like built into the system.
Yeah, I just did that on this little MacBook I'm on now. Actually, I just put a
Right.
solid state drive in it.
That's cool. I mean, but the newer ones, I don't think you can do that.
No, I mean, this is a late 2009 Mac.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what's that? 12 years old this year. At the end of this year, it'll be 12 years old. And the guys were just saying when they repair, oh, well, we don't know if we can repair it because it's getting old. So if it would have been like 3 or 4 months older,
Mm-hmm.
they could have repaired it, but it wouldn't have been worth it because it wouldn't have been able to deal with the updates.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
So my little MacBook now is on its last update. It can't take any newer ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's built in by Apple.
What do they call it? Built-in obsolescence, right?
Built-in obsolescence. So they're making it so I have to buy an updated model. It's the same with iPhone 4s. They take the support. iPhone 4s now in the UK aren't supported anymore.
Right.
And I think they're going to pull the support of iPhone 5. So what that means is they've got to be thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the updates are too big and too complicated. And technology is moving so fast that let's throw it away and get some new ones.
Right.
So, yeah, funny how we started on Earth Energies and being and Reverence, and then we've got onto throwaway society.
It all cycles back around. It's probably time for you need to go, right?
No, we can carry on a bit longer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So what you been at this morning then, Phil?
Well, I was just cleaning the house. It's a bit of a
good.
mess. So, yeah, Susan's going through, a lot of challenges, with a concussion. It's like I keep learning more and more about it, and it just seems like it's really like it's a hidden issue, because on the outside, she looks fine, but then she's going through emotional stuff, and it's it can be challenging. So I'm doing my best to support her, and it's like basically I'm a caregiver for Susan and what she's going through, and just learning more information and just trying to take care of her the best I can. So
Wow, that's I think that's a really interesting thing to talk about, that concussion, because people don't. I think for the majority of us, we don't really understand concussions like a bang on the head. 24 hours, 48 hours later, you're all right. Do you know what I mean? I don't think people. I certainly didn't realise, because this has been a long time now for Susan, hasn't it?
it was like January, but what we kind of learning now is there's actually, and I kind of knew this already, but she went to a cognitive behavioral therapist, and she was basically saying you've got trauma that because when her parents died in 2016, and then she had the accident in 2019 where she was T-boned. Somebody just drove into her and the car was like totally total. And then this accident, and you get this compounding effect of these traumas. And we've talked a little bit about traumas, and the more you learn about traumas is these are happening all the time. And it could be, and if we don't release them, it could be you see an accident. I was just listening to a thing today. It's like you see an accident happen, you're not even in it, you don't even know the people, and I've driven past an accident, and it's like, oh, you like clench, and you're like, oh no, like that, and you feel it in your body, and then so to be in one, and so those traumas can actually cause some level of concussion, some level of traumatic brain injury, whether it's that would be a mild traumatic brain injury, but it stresses the brain. So it's like, oh, so we can actually take on that of what other people are going through. So,
yeah,
but wow. it's very unrecognized, like you say. Like the doctors are like, oh, you'll be fine in a couple of weeks, and they look at their brain under their regular MRIs, and they go, well, it looks fine. It's like, but they don't really know. There is technology, but they're not using the technology where you can kind of see the subtle scarring and the subtle issues that occur with these things. So.
Yeah, that's interesting then, Phil, isn't it? You're just talking about subtle scarring, and that's where proteolytic enzymes are really useful.
Right.
Proteolytic enzymes or even digestive enzymes taken in a high dose, they actually dissolve the fibrin.
Right.
So proteolytic enzymes actually go in and basically eat the scar tissue. So taking proteolytic or systemic enzymes is actually a really great way to deal with any kind of traumatic scar tissue, whether it be, actually from a physical cut wound, and the enzymes clean that up, whether it's, an internal wound, whether it's a brain damage. Once you've got excessive enzymes in your bloodstream, then they'll go around and eat the fibrin, dissolve the fibrin, transmute the fibrin, for a better word. So, yeah. I mean, enzymes are another product that have been very underrated. I think Edward Howell back in the 40s did the research on. I forgot. I was just trying to think what his book was called.
He had a few books. I think Enzyme Nutrition or something.
Yeah,
food enzymes for, I think Food Enzymes for Health and Longevity was another one.
Yep. And and his research was done back in the 40s, and actually it's basically been shelved. No one's really talking about the research, that level of research. Very few people talk about that, and
because it's a really simple solution. They didn't take it any further, but it's a really simple solution for many things.
Back when he was doing that research, they did masses of enzyme research. And the results are amazing. There's a book called Enzymes and Autism. I did have it, lent it to someone. I can't think who on earth it was, but that was a brilliant book. And the results that the kids were getting from just having enzymes with their meals, and they got amazing results. So enzymes are I think on the whole are an really underrated tool to use.
Right. So you're supporting the body. So it's part of detox too. So you kind of clear, like the body uses enzymes all the time. I once read there was like 4,000 different enzymes that are used in the body. And without enzymes, nothing would happen. So that's the bottom line at that. But it's going to help to detox the body, and like autism is potentially linked to heavy metals. So if you're supporting the body's detox mechanisms, or reducing the burden on the body because the pancreas is producing enzymes, then it's just going to give the body more chance to heal. So it's a really simple solution.
Well, I would say one of the things with enzymes actually is they're more cleansing than detoxifying.
Okay.
So they'll cleanse.
What's the difference then?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question, Bill.
I like that one. That's good.
From the research that I've done, detoxing is things like heavy metals, pesticides, shall we say foreign matter. Okay. And then cleansing would be like you do a colon cleanse to get rid of the mucoid plaque. You would do you could do an enzyme cleanse to break down the fibrins and the oh, I need something for my brain now.
Well, any byproducts of like normal metabolism, right? Or food products.
So kind of undigested matter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know, whether it's mineral, fat, protein, carbohydrate, it gets laid down in the arteries as plaque. The minerals get laid down as mineral plaquing, like kidney stones, gallstones, spurs, like when you get heel spurs or different things like that. And that's so you'd be cleansing that out as opposed to detoxing. So that's where I got to with the because people were going, oh, I'm doing a detox, I'm doing a cleanse, and no one really seemed to know what they were talking about. No one really seemed to have a clarity on the difference, and I certainly didn't back then. So yeah, you do a parasite cleanse. So you could detox the chemicals that the parasites create. You could detox them out, but then you'd need to cleanse the parasites out.
Okay.
So I'm still not 100% clear on, because it's like when something's physical, spiritual, or emotional. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult to actually be clear for me now. Mm-hmm. Difficult to be clear on those three things, because actually they're so interlinked that when you say it's physical, or when you say it's spiritual, or when you say it's emotional, you're missing components. And I think there's a link there with detoxification and cleansing. So yeah, I think detoxing is taking out foreign like chemical compounds, and cleansing is then taking out the physical stuff that's left over from digestion or not digestion.
Right. So in effect, going back to the beginning of this, like those toxins, whether biological or heavy metals, they're also creating blockages in the energetic flow of the body, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. Yeah, you know, and sometimes you can physically cleanse something out with diet and lifestyle, and then other times you might need homeopathy to release the next level, which is the vibrational frequency of something. You know, it's like trauma. Homeopathy can be very useful for that.
Mm-hmm. And then you got acupuncture too. So it's absolutely, like if it's the energetics got blocked, you might have detox. This is really it's you know, healing is, you know, it we can do it, and you know, as we become conscious and of the body, it's possible. But people struggle to heal because there's many factors that we don't. This is like, well, I did a detox for a week and it didn't really help. Or I ate some organic food, and it's like, well, there's many levels to it, and it's like, and so there's the detox, and then continuing that for the rest of your life. So,
you know, I mean, I had a friend of mine. and his raw food journey started because he'd had acne all of his life, and he tried everything the doctors and the medical profession gave him. It didn't make any difference at all. So he thought, right, I'm going to go on a detox, and he went off to Thailand. He went to Koh Samui, and I can't remember now if he did a 7 or a 10-day detox, and his skin completely cleared up. So he'd been plagued for a whole lifetime.
Right.
And he went on a juice. I think he did a juice fast, and 7 to 10 days, all the acne had gone.
Wow.
So of course he came home, having had a lifetime of acne, to then just rave about it. I did this 7-10 day fast, changed his life, Phil. It completely changed his life in such a short length of time. So he's someone that, very lucky.
Right. And then he continued on a healthy lifestyle.
He totally continued on a healthy lifestyle because he realized the benefit of it.
So yeah, you'll hear about these people who go on these retreats and then go back to their old life, and then they get their disease again. It's like, you have to. It's a commitment. It's a full-on commitment. And 1 detox, 2 detoxes or cleanses, it's almost, it's probably going to reduce the load in the body, but it's just, it's not whole healing.
I think it depends what the person's issue is and what their end goal is.
Right.
If someone's got skin issues like my friend had, they go and do a 7 or 10 day detox. The skin clears up, job done. But if you want to be that pillar of light, if you want to be the trailblazer, if you want to be the conscious changer, the person that's there to change consciousness, then the cleanse and detoxification becomes a lifetime, right?
Right. Well, it's and then eventually it just becomes second nature. that's a nice word. I like that term, second nature, where it's like we're just like, you have a traumatic experience and you learn different techniques to release it, whether tapping or going out in nature or shaking or yoga or walking, whatever it is. So we're always going, okay, I've had an exposure here. You go into the city and you're probably going to want to, maybe do a little cleanse when you get back home, maybe drink some more juice or lighten up or get some more rest. So it's just this, as you start to learn the body, you're like, okay, I was very stressed today. I need to sleep, or I need to drink more juice, or I need to take more enzymes. So it becomes this a constant thing, but then it becomes second nature. And
actually, I just want to add there, Phil, because what you were talking about there was doing kind of more, and actually fasting, which is less.
Yeah.
And I think fasting, it's again, it's getting more recognition now, but I think it's a very underrated tool.
Right.
Probably one of the best ways to deal with coming to London is to go home and fast.
Right.
Either do a dry fast, a water fast, or a juice fast, even if it's just for a day. And like you say, go to bed earlier. Laying in's one thing, but going to bed earlier actually is a game changer. People on the whole, they think, if they're going to look after themselves and take care of themselves, they stay in bed in the morning for another hour or 2. But don't go to bed on the whole. Of course people do, but on the whole, and I know I'm guilty of this, don't go to bed earlier. Like, I'll just set the alarm for an hour later. Why do we do that? Why don't we go to bed earlier?
Right.
Where the quality of sleep actually happens.
Well, these lifestyles that we live are very adrenalized. So sometimes it can be hard to go to bed. We've got this stress energy. So we're going to learn to try and to work to release that we've taken on. That we're constantly exposed to. It's not just our own psyche. It's like we're exposed to the traumas of other people. We're living in a really stressful time right now. It's really out in the open, and we're picking up on all of those energies from other people. And then we're watching, TV or whatever, and it's like we're taking on more and more of that. And it's very traumatic, and it's very adrenalizing, very stimulating. And it's learning to calm that down, and everyone's on their devices, the blue light and the EMFs, and the EMFs are constant in the environment too. So it's hard to slow down in that.
Yeah, you're right, Phil. Actually, it's really hard to slow down in that.
Yeah. And I wonder what your experience is being in London right now, if it's harder to slow down there than it is back home where you've got your little nest, where it's like you got your cycles, where there it's like, is there more going on? Do you feel the energetic difference being in London?
Not yet, because it's the first day, and I got up this morning and
Okay.
I did a bit of my routine. Then I drove down here, so the whole getting up, loading the van, getting all my gear together, driving down.
Mm-hmm.
That whole process actually is
Right.
very stimulating. And then probably once it's actually quite where I am down here at this part of London here, even though it's very dense, it's actually not very busy.
Mm-hmm.
And people, it's really interesting. People talk to you. There's a real community around here. It's quite
Oh,
interesting.
lovely. That's lovely.
Very different to being back at home in a little beautiful quiet English countryside that used to be. Now the new people that have moved in, they don't really speak. The whole village is like this, not just one, but it's really bizarre. So we've got that London mentality in our village. And I come to London in this part, and my friends like going, well, Phil was saying, yeah, it's amazing, Phil. Everyone talks to you. They're all friendly. And sure enough, we went into a shop, quite a high-end shop today. And the lady in the shop was amazing. She said, do you want to try this tea? So she made us tea, and then she showed us all these different potions and lotions. And Phil's got a couple of kids. And the little boy was into everything. And she's like, oh, that's fine. I've had kids. They're great. And she was really marvelous. Really interesting.
That's lovely.
Yeah, we were looking for inspiration and ideas as to what we were going to do with the clinic. So we went for a walk. The great thing in London is, if you want that in this part of London, you don't have to walk very far, and there's there's lots of independent shops actually down here, which is really nice. Right, so that feels like a bit of a wind-up time, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
It's great to see you, brother.
Yep. Even though I look kind of crazy, my camera's all messed up today, so I have to get that sorted.
But that's probably better though. The graininess is better than the in and out.
Well, these are like sun rays kind of coming through. It kind of looks kind of cool. So.
Yeah, you look like you're in a movie, Phil.
Yeah, something. All right. We'll do a little tuning pause here.
Yes, please.
Let's see. Do the 528.
That distance there feels quite a good one. Otherwise, there's a reverb in the speaker.
Okay.
Very nice.
Beautiful. Well, thanks, Phil. Thanks for getting on still, even with your busy schedule there. So
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was gonna, and I'm sorry I was a little bit late. It was, having to set up the lighting and the mic, figure out how to set up the microphone and the Mac and the password and everything else. So yeah, I've done it. It's marvelous, mate.
good. We made that commitment and we did it.
We certainly did. I'll be back home again next Sunday.
Great. Well, I'm Phil,
And I'm Phil.
and this has been another very fascinating episode of the Phil and Phil Show.
Thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate you all.
Check out our website, philandphil.com. Make a donation to support us, and connect with us on Telegram for any updates and things like that. So we love and appreciate you, and we have great reverence for you in your life, and may you be filled with gratitude and true abundance and connection to the earth and to your spirit. Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Big hug.
Big hugs.